AI is changing everything, from how we invest to who holds the power. As trillions shift hands in the great wealth transfer, women are stepping into the spotlight. But will technology help close the gap or widen it? We're going to break down the intersection of AI and women's wealth right now on UBS Trending. Hi, everyone, and welcome to UBS Trending. I am your host, Anthony Pastore, and I'm here with my friend and colleague, Bree Williams from State Street Global Advisors. Bree, nice to have you back in the studio. Good to see you.
It is so good to be here. Thanks for having me.
I love our conversations whenever we get to have them. I think it's been about a year. And by the way, happy Women's History Month. We're coming to the end of it, but there's been a long month of celebrations, which is great. And I thought, you came to us with this idea of talking about technology, but specifically artificial intelligence and the use of AI by women versus men, and there's some disparities there. I'm going to get into all that with you, but I think what's interesting is we are seeing this great wealth transfer. There's some estimates that say it's up to $124 trillion is going to pass hands from older generations to younger generations by the year 2048. So that is an incredible amount of wealth that's getting transferred down. When you look at women within that story, that theme, and the use of AI, how does that actually come together? You've got all this wealth, you've got AI tools being used more and more every day, and looking at what you're doing research on, financial tools. How do women sort of play within that theme?
Well, AI is a part of our lives more and more each day. I mean, we never really had the ability to have the scale, the speed, and the capability to have information at this level ever before. So when you add the enablement for information gathering, spotting patterns, creation of ideas, it's a great way for one to stay more engaged and connected with their money. So among all the assets that are changing hands, it's a relationship transfer, and I think about the advisory space in particular. But for the individuals, whether we're talking about women or Gen X as a demographic, it's an opportunity for them to lean into modern advice and reshape what our industry should be doing for delivering on what quality advice is. Now, you mentioned that we've seen some patterns and there's difference in usage among AI tools between the genders. So approximately 17% of women reported use of AI tools compared to about a third of men. And the difference is not about capability. It actually has to do with the way AI is leveraged and utilized with trust. So trust gap more than a capability gap. And I find that to be interesting because that means the real story is, well, can AI cover the ground that it needs to earn trust so you are delivering the best of both worlds, which is human judgment augmented by intelligent tools?
As we were preparing to sit together today, I was doing some research on my own, and there was a study done by a Harvard professor on women and their adopting of artificial intelligence. And it was similar in the fact, but this was a more general study of AI use overall, not just financial tools. And it showed that women are adopting AI tools at a 25% lower rate than men on average, despite the fact that it seems that the benefits would apply equally to men and women. And he went on to say the research that he did suggests women are concerned about the ethics of using these tools and may fear that they will be judged harshly in the workplace for actually using them, which does play into the kind of what we've talked about for such a long time now, women sort of having to work harder to arrive maybe not even at the same place that a male does in an average workplace. And it seems to be that women have a fear of using these tools that make their lives easier because they don't want to make it seem like they need them.
Well, asking for help is never a bad thing.
Right.
So let's put that into context of AI can help provide you with some information. It can prepare you to feel more confident for a conversation with your financial advisor, and it can enable you to have a more regular relationship with your money, which means you're a more prudent investor over time. I think when you mention the word fear, that causes me to hesitate a little bit because when it comes to technology, AI tools in particular, and the application in financial decision making, it's about becoming informed, but where it's not a resistance to adopting technology, because you look at the numbers, men and women, we have a progression in adoption rates. So the resistance to technology, no. But the element of, is there enough judgment and context to my unique situation? Yes. And that is often the underlying differences between some of the data points. As you look at, women tend to prefer nearly half of connecting with a financial advisor for that human guidance when making a financial decision that's of importance. Because the AI alone, again, the reporting, doesn't give them the judgment, the context, the accountability, and the personalization that relationship with a financial advisor can.
And it taps perfectly into what we've been saying for such a long time. This is a relationship business in wealth management. Our financial advisors are meeting with clients, and they're not necessarily just talking about their portfolios. They're talking about their goals, their aspirations, how many kids that they have. Are you going to be paying for their weddings and their educations and grandkids and philanthropic causes, and what are you leaving behind as your legacy? So it does tap into that, and it seems like women are even focusing more on the relationship side versus using a lot of these AI tools when they're actually sitting down and talking to a human being, which I found to be really interesting research that you've done as well.
So it's the context of best of both worlds.
Right.
So I mentioned it earlier, it's the human judgment paired with the intelligence of tools. And that equation is higher quality, I would say even raise the standard of what good advice is. So there's something to the, I need more application of how this connects to my financial needs, desired outcomes, than just the input alone I'm entering into the chatbot, as an example.
Yeah.
You do need the good information, you do need the good judgment, and that should help you arrive at a quality decision, ultimately leading you to better outcomes.
Yeah, and there's a chart that you provided for us talking about how women, like 48% say, I prefer human guidance versus using AI. But it is interesting to see that they're using AI as sort of preliminary tool to have the right information before they go in and have that meeting with the human being that is going to be looking at their financial picture.
Pre-conversation behavior.
Right, which is really, that's a really interesting way to use AI because, again, having a chatbot manage your finances is not a great idea. It doesn't know enough about you to help you with figuring out what's right for your personal circumstance. A human being can.
Right. Well, again, it's how much information are you feeding the tool? Whereas if you've had an in-depth relationship with an advisory team, they have the comprehensive picture of not only your hopes and dreams, but your worries and your and your wants also. And you're not going to put all of that into the technology right up front. You're probably asking it a specific question, maybe using it to compare some options, sounding board, so some validation, and to provide an easier way to gather all the information that you believe you want to understand. But the connection to the outcomes one seeks to achieve, again, with that statistic you mentioned, nearly almost half of women looking for that human guidance, that's an important part of the trust equation. So for women to indicate what's quality advice moving forward, it is AI enablement because it provides the speed and the efficiency and scale because they're busy. We're all busy, men and women. But the connection to not getting too far away from that money seat at the table, the human and the accountability, the personalization, that human quality is important at the moment to the advisory equation.
Right, exactly. So what does this mean beyond the AI tools, and what does it mean beyond even just the story of how women are utilizing these tools more broadly? What does that look like?
So looking at if there's a trust gap as opposed to a capability gap, and I would say that applies to whether we were talking about a male investor or a female investor, the trust equation remains important. And the ability for advisors and those that will continue to be successful moving forward is how can you take technology enablement to empower your clients to feel more informed, connected, and have the context they need to feel that the decision-making is personalized, but also has the accountability for the follow-through. That's the gap, and that's really where the trust gap lies. And if we can solve for that, because I think women investors are showing us what is important within that trust component, married with the power of the technology. And if we can help bring that into the advisory model, then we're really solving the equation for what all investors are looking for: the quality, the context, the accountability, the personalization. And the AI just complements the experience. So let's lean into it, whether we're talking about women or male clients, and close the trust gap to give them that judgment, that sound judgment that they're looking for to achieve those outcomes.
Yeah, and as a person who sits in wealth management and works with our financial advisors every day, it is nice to see from your research that women investors particularly are actually shifting and looking for more human guidance from a financial advisor, which is something that we've been hoping for such a long time.
Right.
And maybe the winds are finally shifting in that favor, which I think is really exciting to see.
Right, so if you look down that path generationally, and the baby boomers blazed a beautiful trail for helping women take the seat at the money table. But Gen Z is investing even earlier than millennials were. There's information available 24/7, so the context becomes even more critical. And they're reaching out to have that sounding board. Even those that start off, most of us do, as a self-directed investor. And as things become more complex, or we move into higher income earning cycle of our career, the risk feels higher with our capital. So having that person to be able to bounce ideas off of and put the information that you're gleaning into context from those AI tools can help them make better decisions and ultimately avoid the regret of looking back of, I should have done that, if I'd only known this. And they're going to be able to trust and rely on the decision-making framework that's been in partnership with that trusted advisor, which is only going to lead to higher confidence and conviction that I'm on track, and I'm making a great investment in myself by having this relationship.
Right. Thank you for coming with all of this research. I find it really interesting, and it actually lifts my spirits a lot because we're seeing this shift to human reliance and human need and the trust. Like you talk about the trust gap, it's really great to see that women are really forging ahead with making sure that that is a part of their financial life, is to have that human interaction and take it to the next level, and that women are taking charge of their finances in a way that mixes the technology with the human interaction. So it's like the best of both worlds.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So it's bot and human.
Yes.
And I think women are showing us the way. And we were on the record of saying that in many ways women are model investors due to some of their traits. I think the adoption and ensuring they have a closure on the trust gap, because the technology alone is not enough to give them that full judgment that they need to be ultimately confident in the choices I'm making and go forward. Because if someone doesn't have clear answers, the people are less likely to take action.
Right. Good stuff. Bree, thank you very much. Thanks for coming by, and thanks for all the research and great information. Good to talk to you.
My pleasure.
Great.
Thanks for having us.
Bree Williams again from State Street Global Advisors. So thank you for joining us, everybody. There's a lot more information on this topic and more at our Insights website at ubs.com/views. Plus, you can follow UBS on social media. We're on LinkedIn and Facebook. Plus, you can follow the studio at our channel on Instagram at UBS Trending. Lots of content there for you that you can't find anywhere else. And as always, if you do have any questions about what we talked about today, after you look at the AI, go ahead and talk to your financial advisor. And until next time, I'm Anthony Pastore. We wish you a great rest of your day, and remember to keep your eyes on what's trending. We'll see you soon, everybody.